A podcast? Did your radio show get canceled?
Fire. Low down and filthy, but the discipline is on point. Schooled myself, made my own dojo. A cold flow with the whole dose of soul. Maintain composure, even in theory. An anomaly, properties undiscernible to mere peasants. Use weapons that level entire area.
This week on the $1 Million Plan, we talk to Mark. He's got a sizable income, but we still have some questions. As hopefully you've learned at this point in time, just because you have a good income, frankly, it doesn't mean squat. I've dealt with people with good incomes for years. So we want to make sure that he's doing a good job. And by the looks of it so far, he is. And we welcome him to the program. Now, Mark, welcome to the $1 Million Plan.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Well, we'll see about that. Mark, and tell us about your situation in a nutshell. You're 36 years old. Who's in your house? What's the essence of your problem here today?
It's my wife and 3 kids. We have 3 younger children. My wife's a physician, and so obviously she makes a pretty good income. We have quite a bit of student debt still from when she was in med school, and I guess I'm just want to make sure that we're putting money in the right places and being as efficient as we can, just because taxes are kind of a thing, whether we want to minimize it now or minimize it later, and I guess we're trying to kind of split it and see if that's the right decision to make, but that's kind of where we're at.
All right, well, let's get started. So your annual household income is about $250,000. That's you and her, and then we've got $12,000 of net take-home pay. And so what's the breakdown of income? I know she's in the medical field. What do you do, Mark?
So I'm typically a teacher and a coach. This year, we actually just moved this past summer, so I'm working at a university for a basketball team and just kind of helping out with some things. And so obviously the majority of the income is hers, but she's talking about changing her role a little bit. We moved so she could cut back a little bit, and so she's actually a shift worker in a hospital right now, but she kind of misses having her own patients. And so she's thinking of getting back into the clinic setting next year, which would mean a bump in her income.
Okay.
But right now, typically she works about 14 shifts a month, and which means about $10,000 of the dollars a month is hers coming home. 14
shifts a month. I've never actually taken the time to figure out what a normal person works. I mean, would you say we all work 20 shifts a month, but our right? I mean, 4 weeks, 5 days, but our shifts are shorter than I'm guessing hers are.
Right, yeah. So she's doing 12-hour shifts, and some of those are weekends too, and some of them are overnight. So I don't know if those should count as more or less, but something like that. So she's cut back maybe 5 or 6 days out of the month, so she's home with the kids more.
I always think that's funny how different industries classify time. I have a good friend who's a nurse and a good friend who's a doctor, and they're the same way. But if I were to go home and be like, honey, I've worked 20 shifts this month, she would look at me like I'm crazy, right?
Yeah, I think her stress level is probably a little bit higher than ours in terms of working shifts. So, yeah, we probably would get a little bit different look.
That's fair. So what would you say your stress level is right now? I mean, again, you guys got a lot of money, but you've got also $164,000 in student loan debt. What's the current stress level at the Mark household?
I mean, I guess I'm always kind of been a planner and a worrier in terms of finances, things like that. It's kind of like my hobby, I guess, just reading up on things. The stress level is not overly high, but just looking at that number is a little bit overwhelming. And just when you see kind of the breakdown every month, they give you a statement and how much is going towards principal and how much is going towards interest. It's just a little bit sad, I guess.
Right.
And so we want to eliminate that as quickly as possible. But at the other hand, it's like, well, kids have college, and I want to be ready for retirement. So that's the other thing. I hate to cut back on retirement and college planning, but I guess I'm open to listening to maybe we're doing too much of one or the other.
All right, let's do it. By the way, Mark, what's great about this for you is later on you can watch this at PeteThePlanner.tv and see my face talk to your voice.
I may have to check that out. At least it's not my face, so that's good.
Oh my gosh! Here's the thing: the graphic for our show. Bree, pull up the main slide of the element. I don't have a beard in that picture, but it's photoshopped enough that I'm handsome. But in real life, I just got this terrible otter strapped to my face. It's not good. All right. So how old are your kids, Mark?
8, 4, and 2.
Okay. All right. So this is all coming together for me. We got, here's where I'm going. I'll let you inside my terrible brain. Number one, I'm thinking about donuts. Number two, I'm thinking about your situation. Right? Just being honest. Like at this point in time, for me to lie to you would be stupid. So thinking about donuts. And then I'm also thinking about your situation. And here's where I'm going with it. You have $382,000 already set aside for retirement, right?
Yes.
You've got $164,000 in loans at 4%, and you've got an 8-year-old who you need to be somewhat ready for college in about 10 years for the 8-year-old. Is that the way you think of this too?
Yeah, that's pretty much the way I look at it.
Do you know the $164,000? You're paying $600. You're overpaying by paying $600 a month. What is it scheduled? Like when is it scheduled to be paid off at this point? I mean, it looks to me like 20 years or something crazy like that.
I mean, 20 years, I think, is what it was set to come out as. So we have a van too that we're paying off too, and I'm hoping to pay that off early and then throw the monthly payment I was putting on the van in addition to what we're doing for the student loan. I'm hoping, in my dream of dreams, she gets the bump in salary. We throw everything extra at the loan. I would love to be rid of this by the time we're 40, 41, which is obviously pretty aggressive. But I think if we really were focused on it and we took the extra money, which would be probably 40, 50, 60,000 a year next year, and through that at the loan, we could knock it out really fast.
What, I mean, I know she works 14 shifts a month and they're longer shifts. What kind of stress level does she have? I know you're the planner, but what the last thing we need to do in someone like her situation is to like crank up the heat on her. Is she feeling okay right now? Or and by the way, does your stress impact her stress? Do you make her more stressed?
I don't think so. She actually kind of leans on me to plan all this, so she doesn't have a lot of stress, but she feels not guilty, but just maybe a touch of guilt just for seeing that big number there that's, her fault or whatever, but it's because of that she makes the income she does. So, I mean, she feels a little bad that the loan is what it is, but so she wants to knock it out as fast as possible too. And I think she's kind of getting on board. It's taken a few years to kind of get her to that point, but she's ready to knock this thing out too. And to be honest, the job switch is completely her idea, and it's kind of more up her alley because she's very good with bedside manner and everything. In her current situation doing shift work, she doesn't really get to do that as much, so it's kind of the best of both worlds that she'll get paid more and get to do more what she wants.
I don't know what sort of bedside manner I'd have. I'd be taking care of someone and I'd be like, I can see your butt. I would just I'd get consumed with things going on in the room. Like I walk in, I'm like, that movie you're watching is terrible. I would turn it off, right? Like I wouldn't do well bedside manner wise. So, this is so interesting. You haven't know the van's interest rate on that loan?
It's 0.
Oh man. Okay. So here's where my brain's going. You're paying, let's go full screen Bree on the student loan debt. We've got 4.125% on the student loans, 0% on the van. And your long-term savings, I would hope, is clicking away on a long-term rate of return at around 8% a year. Mark, is there a reason to believe that you're not getting what the market gets?
No, because the majority of it is either index funds in the U.S. or some in foreign too. So yeah, we should be clicking around somewhere. I'm hoping what the market does.
Okay. What about college funds? Do you have any college funds set up for your kids?
Yeah. So the 8-year-old has 30,000 in it already. The 4-year-old has 17, and the 2-year-old has 11. Now, the other thing to consider is number 4 is going to be here in 6 months or something.
You guys need to just chill out. Just
you see,
send her a car.
My wife,
yeah.
But my wife is an OBGYN, so I mean,
so she knows how all that works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're just keeping her working.
When we would go to the OBGYN when my wife was pregnant, and I would go for the visits, I would always try to make jokes that the OB had never heard before, right? Which is impossible, right? I mean, you're going in. There's a lot of idiots like me that try to be funny. And needless to say, it usually ended up with Mrs. Planner not talking to me for a number of hours post-appointment, right? Anyway.
I can see that.
Yeah. Never did he think like today's episode would turn into like the OB episode. Like you just never know what you're going to get.
Yep.
So as we look at this situation, what I need to understand is all the money you have, the 382 plus all those money and the college funds for the kids. Did you organically save that money, or at any point in time did someone say, "Oh, I'm dead. Here's some money"?
No, we did that all on our own. When we were dating before we got married, I was a teacher and 22, 23, and probably saving 60, 70, 80% of what I was taking home every month, and just putting it away. And a friend of mine got me hooked up on a financial advisor who I don't think was always acting in my best interest, but because
that happens
of him,
from time to time.
we do have a big chunk from when I first started working, and so couple that with my wife getting out of residency and earning more money, and we just kept throwing money in retirement accountants, and that got us here.
Well, I like it. So here's where I'm leaning on this stuff. I think if you are as aggressive in the market as you are, and I don't mean that from like, you're risky. I just mean if you're getting what the market's getting and you're paying 4% fixed, 4.125% on the loans, it's really hard to take money out of retirement towards retirement in order to pay off the student loans now. What I just said is the technical answer. The technical answer is to hit retirement and deal with the loans with other monies. Now, oftentimes, Mark, if you've listened or watched the show, I usually go with the practical answer, which for some people can be to address the loans and pull back on retirement. But truly in your situation, based on everything you've told me, I would definitely do the technical move, which is to just deal with the loans as they come. When a pay increase happens, use that pay increase to help with the loans, pay off the van like you are. But paying off the van aggressively is an interesting move, right? Because it's 0% while you're cranking away at over $4,000 a year in interest. Well over $6,000 a year in interest on that loan. So that's a tough nut to crack. Let's look at your $1 million day, and let's look at how much you'll have in retirement. So if we go to your $1 million day, you and your lovely OBGYN wife will be millionaires on January 28th, 2024 if nothing changes. Okay, so if like you hung up right now and nothing changed, you'd be November 28th, 2024, which takes you to a retirement income scenario of you'd have $9.4 million when you're 67 years old at your current pace, with a net monthly income of $21,958. But after inflation, that's going to feel like $10,213 a month. So if you do nothing else right now, Mark, you'll be at $10,213 a month if you just keep doing what you're doing. And as it stands now, you and your wife are making an income of $12,000 a month. So I like your long-term prospects. How about you?
Oh, that sounds great. I've done different calculations and things, and this is probably the one I've like seeing the most here. And I like the way that you can kind of do the adjusted inflation dollars there. That makes me feel a little better because I wasn't sure what it would be, down the road 30-some years.
Yeah,
so,
interesting point by you, because the idea of the $1 million plan is to get people to be millionaires. And people often will say to me, well, there's two schools of thought. One, people will say, well, that seems like a lot of money, but what you just said, Mark, is true. 31 years from now, $1 million is not a lot of money. And number two is people will say, well, don't you need a lot more than $1 million? And I'll say, well, of course, but you have to start at $1 million. Like, people aren't even doing what it takes to get to $1 million. You're going to be at $9.4 million, which is fantastic. So I would say long-term, you're good. How about an emergency fund? What do you have in savings?
Like 30.
Yeah, dude. I'm not even sweating your short-term. What's your housing situation?
So we just moved down in the summer, bought a house. The other thing is I don't know if we'll be here long term or not. Like it might be in a year we might move back where we were from. So we'll see. I don't know, but we put 10% down. So we are paying a little PMI, but I don't want to get too aggressive with the mortgage payments because I'm not sure if after 2 years we're going to be there. And so we're kind of just going a year at a time right now and seeing where we're at.
What scares you? What screws this whole thing up besides a malpractice suit? what really screws this up?
I didn't think of that.
Oh, sorry.
That
Jeez.
Sort of crimp of things. No, that's all right. Probably, I mean, the biggest thing would be if something happened to my wife, the whole life insurance, disability insurance type thing. That would probably be the biggest thing if she could no longer do what she does and we'd have to care for her or something like that.
How? Well, you brought it up and I was going to bring it up anyway, but where are we life insurance wise?
So life insurance, probably going to say something you don't like to hear, but going back to that financial advisor guy, he got me into a VUL when I was younger, which I didn't need. But now, since it's been 10 years, it's kind of, I think it's kind of past the point of getting rid of it. So I have a $500,000 policy like that. My wife has a $500,000 policy like that. And then in addition to that, she has a term policy at her work for another $750,000. Okay. Now, we're thinking about adding to that, not getting one through her work, but maybe doing another $500,000 term policy. But I wasn't sure if we're overdoing it then, or if that's about what we should do.
No, so great. So we're about to have a life insurance lesson here on the $1 Million Plan, and I might not even say what you think I'm going to say, Mark. So that's good for you, right? What are you paying on your VULs before I explain to everyone what a VUL is? Okay,
so we got out of the one with Mr. Financial Advisor guy and got with more of a company that has me paying $72 a month and she is paying just $30-some a month. So we are covered and we're getting a little bit of cash value, or whatever the correct term is. So, and again, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because we're paying a little bit more than term. We're getting a little bit of cash value, but the return on it, I'm sure, is terrible.
What's the cash value of those accounts right now?
So we actually used a big chunk of it to put the down payment on our house. So I have it's probably $6,000 or $7,000 each. It was $20,000 to $30,000 each.
And then was that before you switched companies?
No, we actually switched a few years ago, and so then we pulled out some of the value last year.
So a VUL, or it's called a variable universal life policy. It's a type of life insurance in which you pay into the policy, and it splits into two. Part of it goes to cover the cost of insuring you, the COI, cost of insurance. The other part goes into a sub-account, which can then be managed with different investments. Now, when you have a VUL versus a UL, the V stands for variable, meaning you get to pick your investment options, and that's what you and your advisor did, right, Mark?
Yeah, it's been a long time, but yes, I believe so.
And so then the issue becomes, is that a good way to invest, is to have your life insurance and your financial retirement, your financial future in the form of retirement all tied together? Now, you're going to get a lot of different opinions on this, and I think some of the opinions are affected by who is selling it. But I would say I'm not a broad brushstroke sort of guy. I'm not going to say, Mark, all VULs are bad, all ULs are bad, only do term. I would just say this. I'm nervous that you're paying so little on those. A $500,000 life insurance policy. How old were you when you got this last policy?
33 maybe.
Yeah, dude, you should be paying what's called target premium, which is hundreds of dollars a month, right? And if you pay less than target, then the policy eats itself. So the cash that builds off to the side as you get older will start to eat in, and it will be needed for the cost of insurance. So that, in my opinion, without all the information, I don't think I need it, those policies will die before you do. They will run out and you will have nothing unless you, A, increase the premium you pay into them, or B, take the money and run and get the proper amount of face amount via a term insurance policy.
So 10 years ago to now, I know you're not an insurance salesman, but how much of a difference would term insurance be from a healthy 22-year-old to a moderately healthy 36-year-old?
Yeah, so I updated my life insurance when I was 31, and I bought $2.5 million of term insurance, a 25-year policy for, I think, $86 a month.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So just Yeah, I just and have them run. It's called an in-force projection, Mark. So go to the insurance company, ask for an in-force projection, and what it'll likely show is that the policy peters out. Good use of Peter. It peters out in probably the next 7 or 8 years because it can't support itself. Now, if you were paying $500 a month, legit, like if you were paying $500 a month per policy, this conceivably could be a good idea. Conceivably, especially for a doctor, right? Because you're going to tap out all of your tax advantages, and this is a way to create a tax-free income stream at retirement.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how they sold it to us, which, that sounds good and everything. I didn't know all the different caveats of it, obviously, when I got it, and so I felt I just felt like I was tricked a little bit, and so I've always had a bad taste in my mouth ever since we got it. But I wasn't sure, with her being a doctor, if that made things different, or if we should stick with the plan, or just sell it and be done with it.
Well, when you call them, you're going to ask the following question: what is the target premium? And if the target, my guess is, again, it's going to be $380, $400, $500, and you're paying $75 or something, right?
I am, yeah. She's paying even less. Yeah,
so that's crazy, right? And that's not your fault. I mean, you clearly realize I'm not beating you up over this, but so once you find out the target, your choices are the following: either pay the target, and actually you should do what's called, if you're ever going to be in a UL or VUL whole life, not only should you hit the target, but you should overfund it. That's when it matters. When you underfund it, I mean, you're just asking for trouble. So you have to ask yourself, once you find out the target, are you willing to either hit the target or overfund it? And if not, it's time to roll out. And before you cancel that, you would want to secure term life insurance for the right amount, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's an you have to tell me what happens there. Not that I just want to prove that I'm right, although that is a good time. But I'm just curious as to what the target is. I'm going to guess for you, the target is $380, and for her, is she the same age as you?
Yes.
Probably $300. So you would be paying $680 a month versus the $120 a month, or $100 a month you're paying now?
Correct. Yeah.
That changes some stuff,
Yeah, exactly. And so then I've always just gone back and forth with this, and then I just forget about it for a while, and then the longer it went on, the less likely I think I was to change it. And so I mean, an alarm kind of went off in my head when the premiums went down so much, because when we did switch companies or whatever, the premiums went down substantially.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, but if I don't have to pay as much, it sounds good to me. So
well, you have the face amount while the policy's still alive. You still have the face amount, so that's good. I think, generally speaking, when it comes to permanent life insurance, and again, a VUL is a type of permanent life insurance, I don't have a beef with the insurance itself. It's sometimes how it's sold, and that's pretty much what you just said too, Mark. It can be uncomfortable, and it can be a square peg in a round hole, and I think at least the second policy you've just described is a square hole. There's pegs and holes, and they don't match up. That's what I'm saying. Jeez, I forgot which way I was going with that. How about, do you have a will? Do you have any trust, a will or trust or anything set up?
We do. We have a will and actually a trust, I guess, as well, in case, malpractice would come up or anything like that. So we do have that taken care of. Now, we're not sure if the third child is on the will, so we might need to update it. So we should probably do that.
Yeah, you got to update that. So that's good. No, I think you're good. Any other questions? So in conclusion, before you hit me with any other questions, keep doing exactly what you're doing. Don't change. Don't aggressive. Keep paying what you're paying on the student loans. Let that amortize out on itself, because in the end, you're going to have more money by aggressively saving for retirement and letting your pay raises handle paying extra on the student loans. And then you also need to call about those VULs, find out the target, and then make the decision of what to do there.
What about consolidating some of it? Like we've switched jobs 2 and 3 times because my wife will train and then move on, and then we've moved jobs again. So we have them in like 3 to 5 different places. Right. Is it advantageous to have them all under the same house, or how would you recommend doing that?
Your retirement accounts specifically is what you're talking about?
Yes, correct.
The advantages are you can just be more organized by having one account. The disadvantages of having a lot of different accounts, there's a pretty good chance that you have some nasty fees going on and some crappy investments. So when you find an advisor that you trust and you're with, then by all means bring it together. Or you can always do it yourself online. I'm a proponent of financial advisors when they bring value. I'm not a proponent of a financial advisor when they're just there to make money off of the money you've already made. And that's hard to justify. So you just have to be honest if you can handle it yourself or have someone else. Yeah, it's interesting. I like your situation. The fact that you're going to keep moving and maybe having some job changes maybe create some chaos in your financial life and maybe makes you feel less stable than you really are. But I'd give you guys a 9 out of 10. And the only reason you lose a point, I don't even think it's your fault, frankly. It's the way those VULs are structured. It's just a disaster waiting to happen. So get some answers on those and get those answers back to me, I guess, right?
Okay. So in theory, let me ask you this. If we were to go the term route, we cash out our policies and we get this 12, 13,000, whatever it is.
Right.
What should we do with that?
Well, generally speaking, you will have paid more premiums in than the cash value is worth, so there will not be tax consequences, although you should talk to your tax advisor. You could just dump those toward, you could pay off the van, right?
Right, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah. Pay off the van, even though it's at 0% interest, and you're paying $500 a month on the van, and then just crank that over to the student loans, and then now we're talking, man.
Okay. I'm good with that, I think. I don't know. That life insurance one always worries me, but we got to have it, so we'll figure out what to do with that. Is there any?
She should have about $2.5 million of life insurance.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah, and your income seems in flux and this and that. You should have at least $500,000, if not more. If you're primary caregiver of the children, I don't know if you are or not, but if you are, it probably needs to be higher.
Well, I think next year that's probably going to be the case. Just I travel a lot with my job right now, and I don't think we can't keep having more kids and do that. So I think I might pull back for a little bit, and then that's probably the plan. Cool.
One other tip to help avoid malpractice for your wife. Now this is advanced tip here. I used to advise doctors, like when they go into the room, to make the patient feel more comfortable, for the doctor themselves to remove their pants. But I would say, look, I'm not a physician, and my roommate in college was, and I recommended that to him. And it turns out that's frowned upon. So if you could pass that tip on to your wife to not do that, I think it could keep you in good financial standing.
Okay, I will do that right when I get home today.
Yeah, hey, honey, I have a Peter tip for you, and then just give her the tip, and just say, look, and keep your pants on when you go into the room with the people. And I'm helping everyone right now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, thank you.
How does this happen?
Why
do people even come on the show anymore? It's ridiculous. And Mark, is there anything else I can answer for you?
I don't think. I would love to start an HSA, but I don't know that. I have a hard time finding a good place to find information about that, even including my own HR department here. And so I'm pretty sure we don't qualify. And so with me, like right now, I am insured through my job, and my wife has the kids insured through hers.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's worth me kind of going off on my own and doing, I don't know, some high deductible plan so that I can fund an HSA, just because it seems like such a great deal. But the thing is it still a great deal if we have to sacrifice, premiums now for benefit later? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's tough. Does she not have an HSA through the hospital?
No, she doesn't either.
That's weird. So yeah, that's a tough answer, right? Because frankly, 12 months from now, what I tell you could be completely wrong. Because of how healthcare changes. So I'd probably hang tight for now. And then when you find that final stability you're looking for here in the next few years, then make that decision now. Yes, I would rather you be putting $6,700 away into an HSA, but since you guys aren't all covered together, you're covered on your own, it's only going to be $3,000 anyway.
Right.
So yeah, I wouldn't lose sleep over that. And that's, you can have a more permanent solution as your job stabilizes.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, I have to keep me updated. Just email us. I got to know about the VUL stuff. I got to know. It's going to be crazy.
Okay.
All right.
I will do that right when I find out. Thank you very much for your help, Pete.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for joining us. If you want to be on the $1 Million Plan, go to PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. That's PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. And, of course, watch us on PeteThePlanner.tv. That's all for today. We'll see you next time.
If you want to be on this podcast and have Pete fix your money life, then hit us up at PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. You heard me. PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. Log on.
This is for information purposes only. It's not the Swiss financial planning device. Consult a financial advisor.
Released from Everest, the fresh is fresh, and you can call me E.T. Word to John Tesh. Let me bless this harmonic presentation. It's amazing, so amazing. I'm the reason. Salutations, I bring you love, trying greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love Tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it? The tinkling of the keys is an homage to the little star. I sojourn over poetic descriptions of sound and travel to my other world. Out of this world, spaceship on my arm took me home, fueled by the ink and the megabytes and the hypertext transfer protocol, stronger than the Skynet and the Terminator. I push faders into warp speed, glide with ease, creating a breeze they call a black hole. Event horizon, no rear view concerns. This I adjourn, in beats I burn. This I adjourn, in beats I burn. Salutations, I bring you love, trying greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love Tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it?